Happy Monday, guys. Andrew and Dayton with you. It is October 27th. We have a weekend recap episode for you here, talking all sports around the Maritimes. A little bit of Wanderers, last little bit of Wanderers for the time being. Halifax Mooseheads, as always. And we're going to touch on our first bit of Atlantic University Sport Football AUS Semifinals coming up next weekend. Dayton, of course, the Blue Jays going back to LA, 1-1 in their series. So a lot going on for us right now, both locally and nationally. Can't wait for that, man.
It's been a great weekend, a great week for sports. I know the Blue Jays kind of went down. Like you said, they tied their series, but we've got lots of stuff coming up, like you touched on, AUS football, a new sport for us to touch on, a new pathway for us to go down. AUS, if there are any fans out there listening, this might be your new spot.
Yeah, we'll be here all winter long, touching on AUS basketball, touching on different sports, volleyball, hockey, all kinds of different stuff. You guys can find us, Halifax Sports Talk, Citadel Sports here. You can subscribe to our channel. We post twice a week. We post at the start of the week, and then we do a weekend preview on Thursdays, usually posted around Thursday evening. So you guys can make sure to check that out. All right, so the breaking news, of course, that came right after we did our Wanderers playoff game recap. So a lot of Wanderers talk for us on the podcast in a short period of time. We had Josh Healy on to preview the matchup, Wanderers against York. We already know how crazy that game was. Finished in PKs with the Wanderers getting knocked out, which, by the way, York lost to Calvary over the weekend. So they didn't end up moving on either way. But Patrice Gheisar let go from the Halifax Mooseheads, relieved of his coaching duties. Very tough to see. And I think that he certainly grew as a coach, and he helped build up this Wanderers team. And the city really appreciated everything he did for the team, led them to some successful seasons. However, you blow a lead, you have 1-0, and in the 86th minute, you allow a goal. And then in extra time, you blow the lead again after leading 2-1. And then you lose it 3-2 in PKs. Very tough, but as we always say, the cliche in sports, you can't fire all the players, so sometimes you just have to let the coach go.
It might not even be the problem, but sometimes in sports, you just need a fresh look. And this might be the instance that the Halifax Wanderers are in. They might just need a fresh look. Gheisar was the second coach in franchise history, if I'm correct, I believe. So yes. There hasn't been too many new faces, although the CPL and the Wanderers are a fresh franchise within the last few years. Maybe sometimes a new look, a new face in the locker room is good to help lead these players. And, maybe some new coaching changes wouldn't be the worst thing. Maybe a couple player changes will come along with it, some off-season signings or some transactions. You never know. But I think this Wanderers team might be having a new look going forward, starting with the coach, and it might trickle down.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he had success with the team, but second ever coach after Stephen Hart. So and everybody was excited when Patrice Gheisar took over. He brought that energy. He brought a lot of players with him. He took over when a part of the recruitment and some signings. He guided the team to record-setting seasons. And his first season, he helped the club to its first playoff appearance, most wins, most points, and fewest goals conceded. Like, those are some pretty strong notes to mention about what Gheisar did for the team. And, of course, I think he brought a different level of energy with this roster. There was that famous quote that Josh Healy mentioned, but he always said, I want to rather win a game 5-4 than 1-0, which, as someone that grew up playing higher scoring sports like basketball, I always love hearing soccer coaches say that because, well, I'll be honest, I'm not really the biggest fan of 1-0 soccer matches. So hearing him say that was always cool, and the energy he brought, very, very exciting stuff to say, but we got to also bring the negativity as well with it is, whether it's on Facebook, on X, wherever it was, some of the fans were questioning some decisions. And we even saw on One Soccer, some of the analysts were kind of maybe saying some of the decisions taking place in that playoff match, whether it's taking players on, putting players on, or whatever it might have been, you just can't make those moves and stuff. So soccer, it's very interesting because I was saying to you backstage, it's like baseball, right? When you take a pitcher out too soon, everyone's mad at you. You keep a pitcher in too long, everyone's mad at you. So obviously the manager takes the heat, but I think Patrice Gheisar has a very bright future when it comes to Canada soccer, but his time is done with the Halifax Wanderers.
I think the biggest thing to note here is just that Geyser isn't leaving on any bad terms. There was obviously that quote. We made the graphic. Derek Martin, the president of the Wanderers, said that he'd like to thank Patrice for his significant contributions to the Halifax Wanderers over the past 3 seasons. So no bad blood between the two, between Geyser and the club. He's obviously just going on a new adventure, going to start something else, and obviously nothing bad between the clubs. So I think that's pretty important to mention that he's just leaving on a good note.
And we'll definitely be covering the Halifax Wanderers next season into the spring, into the summer. So make sure you guys follow along with us here, Halifax Sports Talk, and follow across all social platforms. And we'll keep you posted when we find out who the next manager of the team will be. All right. Speaking of more local sports, the Halifax Mooseheads continue to roll, and big win for them over the Moncton Wildcats as they continue to play upset. And it's going to start being a time now, Dayton, when I got to stop talking about this Mooseheads team in such an underdog manner, because as much as they're a very young team, we're a few weeks in now that we've been doing podcasts together talking about the Mooseheads, and this team continues to impress. Your thoughts on the Mooseheads and how they performed this past week?
Well, the underdog story, it's definitely there. I was listening to Gareth McDonald do the play-by-play on the radio on my way back from St. John this weekend, and he was talking about the fact that Moncton has 8 Americans and a boatload of 19-year-olds on their roster. Halifax has a couple of 19-year-olds, a plethora of 17 and 18-year-olds, and a few 16-year-olds that have been playing their butts off, like Caminella, Junior Gualberto, guys like that. So, yeah, their underdog status is definitely there, but you look at them, and they're sitting third in the East, above teams like Newfoundland, above teams like Moncton. So, like you said, I don't know if people are going to be calling them underdogs for much longer.
Yeah, they just continue to kind of put forward a full 60. And I think that if they have a bad period, they kind of bounce back. One thing I've liked with them is that they've been able to kind of explode in the third period if they've had a bad start, or they've been, a little bit of, everything out of this team. And when we talk about this past weekend and look specifically at some of the big wins they've had over the last little while, one thing that I thought was interesting is that they put up that high of goals. Of course, I guess bearing the lead, 5-2 victory for the Mooseheads, but 1 for 6 on the power play, Wildcats 0 for 5. So we saw 7 combined goals and practically no power plays in that hockey game. That's pretty good for a young team to score all those at 5-on-5.
Yeah, and one of them even came at 5-on-4. They were shorthanded, and the one that was, or the player that it was scored by was Carlos Handel. He was a defenseman, got himself up into the rush. He was miles ahead of every back checker, got himself in alone on Jacob Stein or Rudy Guimont. Jacob Steinman, of course, coming to Halifax last year. Excuse me. But Rudy Guimont standing tall in the crease until Carlos Handel comes down, makes a beautiful move on him. And there was a QMJHL post yesterday on Twitter. It said, yes, Carlos Handel is a defenseman, just because they were noting the fact that he was so far in the rush on the penalty kill, and he still was on a breakaway and potted it home. So, yeah, great for Handel. First of the season for the Go Habs Go draft pick. So, great to see.
Love that.
He's stepped up a lot this year. He's been kind of using his body more. He's obviously turned into a first pair defenseman, playing first pair, second pair minutes along with the young guys. I think Montreal has a great pick here in Carlos Handel. He was a 5th round pick. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And it's a great time to be a Habs fan right now. It definitely is.
Exactly. So for them to pick a guy like Carlos Handel up in that late of a round, why not?
Yeah, and I think that seeing guys like that jump into the rush, but more importantly, seeing them feel comfortable to do that, someone's going to take their spot. And yeah, you talk about a shorty right now in a game where nobody was scoring power play goals. Yeah, hey, might as well get one on the PK. But Bresson with 37 saves. Again, He performs really well. Both goaltenders have been playing very well for this Halifax Mooseheads team. The consistency. I can't remember one time looking to do a weekend recap video with you and being like, ah, man, like this guy had a bad game in between the pipes for the Mooseheads. I mean, they're just getting consistent goaltending. It's been really good to see. Kennedy, Santini, Carrier, empty netter there by Kilfoyle. Just really great to see all these different guys. And I just think the big key for me, though, with the game, as I mentioned off the top, starting the game down 2-0. You know, I was talking about earlier in the day doing a podcast regarding some NHL teams that specifically only can win games if they score first, and how key it is for good quality elite teams to be able to win games when you go down. And I know it sounds simple. Of course, you should have to be able to come back. But for this Mooseheads team to not only like squeak back and win 3-2 in overtime, no, they dominated the game after going down 2-0. That's impressive for a young team.
They're a very young team. And I remember listening to an interview between the periods. Gardner McDougall was saying to Taylor McDougall just before the season to get the best players in the offseason. The one thing that Taylor McDougall has been assigned to do since his job in 2023 started with the Wildcats was to get the best players. And Moncton definitely went out and did that. They say they don't know how long some of these players will be with them. But I do know that the Mooseheads have some pretty good players as well. Lots of these guys, 17 and 18, some 16, like we mentioned, they'll be with the Mooseheads for at least a couple more years. So I think talent-wise, the Mooseheads are fine. They're going to have a core of their team that's going to be in Halifax for the next couple of years. And I don't think they have as much to worry about like a team like Moncton does. They were coming into this season as very high, like they were highly touted offensively, defensively, in between the pipes because Guimond was coming back. But I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Caleb Desnoyers was obviously his debut yesterday since coming back from wrist injury. He didn't look that great out there. He didn't look like he stood out that much like I kind of expected him to do. So it'll take some time for him, I think. But for the Mooseheads, they've got the talent. They've got everything. They might be the underdogs. They might be a younger team. But like we said off the top, they are rolling. And I don't know what's going to stop them.
It's a great time to be a Halifax Mooseheads fan. We'll try and keep this coverage up for you guys here on the channel. You can find us on social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, on X as well. But of course, we're here twice a week, as mentioned, talking about the Halifax Mooseheads, recapping the weekend. And then on Thursday evening, you guys can catch us looking ahead to the next slate of games that they will play. So the Mooseheads, without one power play goal, they put up 5 on the Moncton Wildcats. They keep on rolling. All right, the next topic, looking at this Atlantic University Sport football, AUS football. I used to love going to these games, and I'll be honest, I haven't been to an AUS football game in a long time, but I think that I want to go to the UTEC Bowl if it ends up being here in Halifax with St. Mary's. The stage is set for the semifinals. 1 seed St. Mary's will face the 4th seed Acadia Axemen, and it will be 2 and 3 going head-to-head as Bishops will fly to Antigonish to take on St. FX X-Men, who, of course, are the number 3 seed. So very interesting. Saturday, November 1st, St. Mary's enters as top seed, 7-1 record in the AUS. Bishops has shown strength, but their last game, they just got absolutely beat down by St. FX. So it's going to be really interesting to see 2 teams go head-to-head that we just saw play each other last week, and it did not go very well with the score being 45-3. You got to wonder if Bishops was just resting some players towards the end of the game, and maybe that score is a bit lopsided here, but it's looking, barring any upset, like we're going to get a St. FX visiting St. Mary's for the finals in the AUS next week time. But it's a good time to be a football fan in the Maritimes, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for all these people out in Ontario, out in Quebec, to get to see what Atlantic University sport has to offer. I know it's not the biggest thing out there. Last year when I was at the swimming nationals for U Sports, there was a swimmer that was from the AUS, and the girl beside me announced it as Australia. And I was like, That's actually not it, but yes. See, that's how little people know. But when the talent gets out there, when people actually see, oh, these two teams, St. FX and St. Mary's, that are nationally ranked 9 and 10, oh, they actually might not be too bad. So I'm excited for that part of it. I'm excited for the people out west to see the sport and the level of competitiveness that we actually have out here.
For sure. And it's always a great crowd as well. When it comes down to the playoffs, I don't know how much it's been these days because I haven't been, honestly, to the regular season games, but I always know the playoff games are really big. So we'll see. AUS football is known for upsets, but Bishops against St. FX and, of course, Acadia and St. Mary. So we're going to break things down on Thursday, get you guys set. We'll talk about what we saw throughout the regular season, dive deep into the numbers, and get you set with a preview for both those games coming up this Saturday. Dayton, I didn't even mention the Saturday night game, so we're going to go backwards for the Halifax Mooseheads. I apologize with that one for skipping over. I was so fired up for Halifax beating Moncton, but tell us what you saw in the Mooseheads versus the Cape Breton Eagles game.
Well, the Saturday night game, I think the Mooseheads might have wanted to give me a little birthday present there for that one. They turned up the heat, and Oleg Kulibiakin was the first star in that one in my mind. Obviously, he wasn't picking up the first couple of goals, but his third period, he really shined in that one. He had a great pass to Yasu Mensinen backdoor for a one-timer. Mensinen picked that one up, no problem. Will Bent, the youngster, 16, might be turning 17 here soon. Not exactly sure when his birthday is, but I know he's still 16. So a young guy, nevertheless, doing well. The DND jerseys for the Mooseheads, though, oh my goodness, those are so nice. Every year they come out with some nice jerseys representing the Canadian Naval Force. So nice to see. Nice little navy blue with some gold trim on the top. Nice logo. Not bad. They're on sale, or not on sale, but for auction until November 3rd. So head over and check those out if you're a Mooseheads fan.
Yeah, make sure you guys support. And happy birthday to Dayton. Hope you had a great weekend, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So
I'm no longer a young guy. My buddy texted me. He's like, "Happy birthday, Unk," and I was like, "Is that what I qualify as now?"
You're an Unk now.
I'm an Unk.
There you go. We won't dive into it, but I hope you had a good time. And I know you were on the road, so you're hardworking. You're on the play-by-play, and you're covering all kinds of different leagues. So I imagine you weren't going too crazy, but I bet you when you were able to have a good little break, hopefully you were able to celebrate and enjoy your day. So Halifax Mooseheads play Cape Breton on Saturday, and it's even more impressive to have that performance that they had second half against Moncton. Didn't want to skip over that. I know you had some notes about that, and I know that game was, well, I think that when you look at really what they were able to do in that game as well, I think my overall take is that when I looked at the scoreboard for that game against Cape Breton, I just love seeing different names up there on the board. And, I think back to like even a couple years ago with this Halifax Mooseheads team, it was like top 4 players or bust, top line or bust. And this team, we keep talking about how young they are, but I'm telling you, they seem a little bit different. They seem like if one line is off, the other line will pick them up a little bit. And it's very, very important in the back-to-backs to be able to have that. So wanted to go back and touch on that game for the Mooseheads, but a lot of stuff here. But Wanderers, we'll put that on the back burner for a little while unless we hear of new coaching staff kind of being added to the roster for this team. But football in Halifax, guys, if you want to get out to a game, you can go to St. Mary's or St. FX, catch a playoff game. And right now, if you're not going to the Moosehead games, I know it's always a good time, fun game to take your family to, but right now they're looking really good. And you want to make sure you check out the Halifax Mooseheads. They're playing some great hockey. And I believe they have some home games coming up, right? And they go away on a road trip. What's their
they are actually going away.
They go out now. They go out now on the road trip.
And then they're back to Charlottetown. I think it's a while, actually, until they are back at home. They're in Charlottetown.
And now it's just done, pretty much.
Yeah. They're in Quebec, and then they go back to Charlottetown, and then they're back in Halifax the next night with a home-and-home with the Islanders. So it'll be interesting. The first place Charlottetown Islanders, they lead the league with 23 points. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? That Islanders team, they were building, and based on some interviews I watched with the coaching staff and even players, the expectations were high in that room. Maybe not around the league for them, but they're definitely living up to it. And of course, they get McKinnon now, which makes a big difference. So we'll see how this young Mooseheads team does on the road. You can always play well at home. You can play well within your own division. Now you go to an out-of-conference game. We'll see how they do on the road. 3 games in Quebec against the Armada, against Rouen, and they're playing who's the next one against Val d'Or. So
Yeah.
3 straight games in Quebec. We'll see how they manage in that one. All right, that will do it for this podcast. Guys, if you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We are posting every single week, as mentioned. Comment below your thoughts, whether it's on the Wanderers, whether it's on the Mooseheads, or whether it's on the AUS action we're going to start covering here soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.